Good evening. The meeting is now called to order. This is the committee of the whole meeting for Wednesday, January the 29th, 2025. I am Council President Trippi Congo, Chair. And at this time, I will call roll for those members who are present. Councilman Owens.
Here.
Councilmember Darby asked to be excused. Councilwoman Oliver. Councilwoman Harley.
Present.
Councilwoman Willauer.
Present.
Councilwoman McCoy. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Field. Councilwoman Cabrera. Councilmember Hackett. Councilmember Spadola asked to be excused, and Councilwoman Bracy. All right, for this meeting, we only need 3 council members for a quorum, so we will proceed. So we are here this evening to discuss the resolution for confirming the appointment of Terence J. Williams as City Auditor. Per City Charter, Section 3-201, the City Auditor shall be appointed by the Mayor and confirmed by a majority vote of council. Per Charter, Section 3-401, the City Auditor shall serve until his or her successor is appointed by the Mayor and confirmed by a majority vote of council. Any vacancy shall be filled by appointment in the same manner as an original appointment. As acting city and any acting city auditor shall serve in such position for not more than 90 days. Per Council Rule Number 8, appointment of a city auditor is approved only by resolution of council, and the chair of the committee may schedule a meeting after the mayor-elect has notified the clerk of the proposed appointee. The mayor's deputy chief of staff notified council staff on Tuesday, January 21st, for the selection of Terence J. Williams as Mayor John Carney's choice for appointment as city auditor. First, I would like to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Williams this evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Council President.
Thank you for being here. Is there anyone else that you would like recognized? I would like to recognize former Mayor Baker, who was with us this evening. Mr. Williams, you have served as a city auditor for the 107th and 108th session of council under the appointment of former Mayor Mike Przicki. This evening, council will ask some questions of you regarding the city auditor's position. And thanks in advance for sharing a summary of some of the major accomplishments that you have done in your tenure as city auditor. Are you a Wilmingtonian? And if so, how long have you been a city of Wilmington resident?
Council President, yes, I am a proud Wilmingtonian, and I've been...
Make sure your mic is on, please. Okay.
Council President, I'm a proud Wilmingtonian, and I've been living in the city for 7 years. Approximately 6 years.
Okay, thank you. Can you briefly describe a high-level summary of the job functions of the city auditor?
As a city auditor, my responsibility is to set the strategic direction for the auditing department for the city. I'm responsible for hiring the external auditor to perform the external audit of the city's financial records, perform the single audit. They also perform the pension audits for the city as well. My responsibility includes auditing the various departments and functional areas of the city to make sure that there's no fraud, waste, and abuse.
All right, thank you. I would like to recognize council members Maria Cabrera and Letitia Bracy. Our next question. Please discuss your accounting and financial educational background pertaining to the relevance of the city auditor position. And how many years have you been a CPA?
Council President, I'm not a CPA, but I've been in the auditing field for 20 plus years, 25 plus years, working in various functions. In the current role as a city auditor, I've been in this role for 7 years, doing the responsibility of the city auditors. Prior to that, I worked for Rico Americas Corporation, as a senior manager in their internal auditing department. I've worked for a number of multinational corporations, from Rico Americas Corporation to Yum Brands, which is the parent company for KFC Pizza, Taco Bell, Long John Silver's, and A&W. And I also worked in public accounting for approximately 7 years, auditing nonprofits and local governments.
Okay, thank you. The City Auditor's Office provides dual lines of reporting to both the executive and legislative branch of governments. If an audit disclosed any practices that did not meet the GASB standards, i.e. theft, fraud, misleading financial reporting, etc., how would you propose to report the matter if the offender is an elected official?
Council President, in my role, I have to be independent with the way we conduct our audits according to generally accepted government auditing standards. If something involved the administration, I can reach out to council. I can reach out to the audit review committee. If something involved council, I can reach out to the administration or to the audit review committee. Usually I'm going to the audit review committee to make sure that they're aware of what's going on.
All right, thank you. And council members, if you have any follow-up comments or questions, you may raise your hand. Councilmember Harley?
Yes, so apparently, as it relates to question number 3, the city does not require you to be a CPA, apparently.
Correct.
Okay. And the reason why I asked that question, because sometimes there are certain jobs that give you X amount of time. They hire you without the certification and give you X amount of time, so I wasn't absolutely sure. But in this case, it's not a requirement.
No, it's not.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Owens?
Hi, yes. Quick question about question 3 in the CPA. So if we go to an outside firm that you're responsible for getting an external auditor, will they be required to have a CPA?
Yes, they would be.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
That's one of the requirements to hire a certified public accounting firm to do the external audit for the city.
Thank you. The objectivity of the city auditor should not be unduly influenced, compromised, or restricted by any member of the government. How would you handle any attempt from any source to limit the scope of any internal or external audit procedures?
Well, again, I would mention that I have to be independent, objective, and ethical, and use professional judgment on all of our engagements. And I have to make sure that we don't have any conflicts of interest that prevent us from being able to conduct our auditing engagements in that capacity. And that's according to the government auditing standards that I mentioned, GASGA.
Okay, thank you. During your role as the city auditor, discuss any major changes that you implemented or share the impact to the city as a result of those changes as to how it benefited the city of Wilmington.
One of the major changes that has been implemented since I've been the city auditor are we publish our audit reports on the city's intranet site. That allows transparency to the public so that they understand that we have nothing to hide at the city. That was something that was not done prior to me joining. It was requested to be done, but it never was done until I came on board. Another thing that I've done that benefits the city is re-engineer the audit report so that it's more concise and user-friendly. And one thing that this has allowed us to do is to get management buy-in for management action plans that have to be mitigated. Prior to me joining the city, this is something that was not being done. There were a lot of gaps. We closed a lot of those gaps, got management buy-in, and you will see with our quarterly status updates that we share with the audit review committee, we're getting a lot of positive feedback from the management because they're mitigating the issues, and that's showing in other areas as well, like with the external audit. We're noticing that we're having fewer findings, and I think that could be contributed to some of the work that we're doing as well.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to recognize council members Hackett and Oliver, who have both joined us in council chambers. Any follow-up questions? If not, we'll move on to our next question. During your term as city auditor, discuss anything that you would have done differently or changed if you had another opportunity to do so.
One thing that I would have done differently would probably try to get more money for my team so that I wouldn't have as much turnover as we currently have. As you know, there's a shortage of people with our skill sets, and that's a major hindrance on our profession currently, and that's nationwide. And so that's one of the biggest things I think we need to try to address. This current year, we are down 20%. Last year, we were down 40%. It's hard to do the city's business and hold people accountable when we have that much turnover in our department.
Councilmember Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Auditor. My question is, to my understanding, it's just when you say a shortage in far as accountings, when's the last time you've been able to hire someone, HR hire someone in your department?
We actually have interviews occurring next week on Monday. We've been able to hire people internally, but we have not had a lot of applicants hired from externally, and I think that's a disservice to the department and to the city if we're just limited to a small pipeline. I'd like to have a broader pipeline where we can attract candidates to come in who may have different skill sets than what we have, but they could add value, and I think that would be a benefit to the city.
May I follow up? The reason why I asked, because I had two women from two prominent companies. The reason why I asked, so they didn't see anything listed for your department, so that's why I'm saying, so if you're having an interview, they must have just posted it because it hasn't been posted. Is that correct?
It's been posted twice.
For one position?
For one position, and they didn't have enough candidates apply initially, so they reposted it the second time, and we got a few more applicants. And so we're going to have the interviews this Monday.
Thank you. I just want to make a statement. That's my point. Just one position, but you're making it seem like you had all these positions, and no, this is my opinion. So you don't have many candidates. I think you can say it a little better. We only had one. Hopefully we'll post some more. Hopefully HR will open up the process. Thank you, sir.
Councilwoman, for the original posting, we only had 2 applicants. We need 3 minimum to be able to proceed. And after they posted it the second time, if we did not have the other applicants, then it would be up to my discretion whether we would just interview the 2 candidates. But we were fortunate enough to get a few more, and so we'll proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. That's my point. I just want to put a little clarity that it's not because you don't have qualified applicants. You just only have 1 or 2 positions. Or, I mean, I know. I'm just going back to the residency because I hear you threw that in there a little bit, and I know this is not about residents. I just want to throw that up.
No, my response was not about residency. It's just about if we only have people who work in the city apply. That means anyone outside the city, whether you're a resident or outside of the city limits, we aren't attracting those type of candidates. And I know they exist, and I think there are things we can do to try to improve that, and that's what I'm talking about.
Thank you. My point was made. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Owens.
Yeah, so one, I heard you about the one position that y'all are interviewing for. I wanted to ask, is there other positions open, and if so, how many? And as the head of the department, what strategies have you implemented to kind of diversify that pool to try to recruit people for this office?
We have one senior auditor position that's currently open. In my budget request, I'm asking for an additional resource. I would love to hire an IT audit manager because there are a lot of system changes that are going to be occurring in the city, and I think we need someone with those skill sets to help us be able to direct the appropriate attention to the system implementations as well as maintain the audit levels that we need to be able to conduct our traditional audits that we perform.
Councilmember Harley.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. The way that I have interpreted what you have said, Auditor, is that you have identified, the question was, during this term, discuss anything that you would have done differently. And you said that you would like to hire more, you would need more help. So you have identified that more help is needed, and it sounds as if you have put that out there. We put the job request out there. We did not get enough individuals to apply, so we had to put it out there again, right? Is that correct? And so I think, you identifying the need and wanting the proper departments or whomever to approve the budget. So I think that is commendable. You've made that clear, and I think that's what's important. You being the senior, the head of the department, is to make it known what you need, and you've done that. And then I guess my question to you is this: is the resume process, is it closed?
For the senior audit position that's being interviewed on this week, it is. For the other request, that hasn't been approved in the budget yet, so we haven't started that process. But the reason why it's hard to retain the candidates is because the compensation isn't keeping pace with the industry, and by there being a shortage of individuals with the skill sets, you may have to pay a premium to get the services and to retain them. And we've been making incremental increases, but I don't think it's been enough to keep people here and not leave to go to greener pastures.
I have one follow-up.
Just like to recognize council members McCoy and Johnson. Thank you.
My follow-up is we recently did the compensation study, and so how did that play out as it relates to these positions that you are referring to?
I raised concerns about the compensation study this time and the one before, and I thought it really did a disservice to my department because it made positions where you may not need the same skill sets more appealing. So I had one individual who left my department and went back to their old department because they can make more and possibly do less. And that's why I think it's counterproductive the way it was handled. And you have to make it where it's more appealing so that once we get the people, I think my employees would be a good springboard for the city because they would gain the skill sets that can be beneficial because their skill sets are transferable across all departments. And I think that's what we should possibly be looking at. Getting the people with these skill sets, they understand what the controls are, they understand the processes and how they should be operating, and they can go into other departments and be an asset and add value for those various departments. And I think it would help the city be better controlled, having people with those skill sets. That's just my opinion.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next question. The city auditor is a position that is appointed by the mayor and confirmed by council. Share your views if the position should have term limitations and if the position should be elected.
Me personally, I'm biased. I don't think it should have term limitations because you want to have consistency in a position like this, because if every 4 years you're bringing in a new person, it's a major commitment that the person who takes this role has to do. For, in my case, for instance, I used to live in Glen Mills. I sold my home and moved to the city. I moved my family to the city. We were in a very good school district. That's a major commitment for me to get up and move my family to the city, and then in 4 years possibly have to leave and go elsewhere. I don't think you will be able to attract the type of caliber of people that you want long term if you're constantly having that kind of turnover. So I think you want to try to have people in these positions for a longer period of time, because they understand how things are functioning, and I think they can help new administrations or new elected officials when they come in to understand how things are working, where the gaps are, what's needed to help move us forward.
Thank you. And then for the second part of the question, do you think your position should be elected?
I never really have given it much thought. I know there are some positions in the state, like my peers, some of them are elected. I really haven't given it much thought.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Wallauer.
So my question is about how you choose to audit different things. And I know that this position reports to the administration and to council. And there have been situations like, I believe last spring, there was a resolution passed or maybe an ordinance passed to do a audit of parking. And I don't think that happened, and I guess I was just wondering how, if the position reports to the council and to the administration, how do you decide not to do things that have been requested by, or that have been, decided on by council?
With my department, we use an annual risk assessment to determine the audits that we conduct, and we send it out to department heads, administration, city council members, and that's opportunity for everyone to share what their concerns are. We use a weighted average when we decide what that audit universe is going to be. A lot of times, if we don't get the participation, the responses, it's hard for us to be able to incorporate some of those things. We actually did do a parking enforcement audit, and we have it completed. And we're waiting for the next audit review committee to share it. But we do take the things that council say serious. But I think with the risk assessment, that's really the opportunity for council members to use their voice to let us know what their constituents are saying. A lot of times when people see the risk assessment, they may think it's just relating to the departments, the functional areas at the city. But no, for a council, it's about what your constituents are saying. They can be letting you know there are certain things that aren't working right at the city. And if enough people are letting us know that we need to possibly focus some attention in that area and include that as a potential audit.
Could I ask a follow-up question, Council President? So I'd really appreciate if you could just clarify to council how that process is to make sure that, when constituents are bringing up issues that we hear and, we want to get something, or we hear that something should be audited, how does council work with you and your department to get those things on that list?
I can mention again, we have an annual risk assessment. We're going to be rolling that out. It's a questionnaire we send out in the next, say, month or so. And the individuals who receive the questionnaire will reply to it, send it back to us. Hopefully, they give it some thought and give us some meaningful things. We use a weighted average to help determine what the audit universe is. We also look at prior audits, the findings in the prior audits. If they're high risk, those are things that we definitely want to look at in the future, because we're not doing continuous monitoring of the audits once we issue them, but we will follow up on a quarterly basis to see if the issues are mitigated. Once the issues are mitigated, we may come back and do a follow-up audit. And so that also would be included in the audit universe for a fiscal year. I have an open door policy as well. If council members feel as though something is urgent that they would like to bring to my attention, I'm always willing to sit down and talk, whether you're coming to my office or I'm coming to your office. So that's another avenue. If you're aware of any fraud, waste, or abuse, we have a fraud hotline. You can submit claims through the fraud hotline as well. And those are things that would get our attention.
Michelle Bassler.
Yeah, I just want to add a little bit more to. Also, there's the audit review committee. Council has the opportunity, if they like to go to those meetings, as well as to submit a written request to the audit review committee, and to see if that can be approved to be factored in the audit plan. That's also an option as well.
And I also like to mention that although we do an annual risk assessment, I'm constantly reviewing our audit plan to see if we need to make any changes throughout the year. There are times where something may have appeared to be high risk at one time, you find out that it's no longer high risk, and there may be something else that's brought to our attention that would supersede that. And so there are some times where we have special projects. As long as we have the bandwidth and the expertise, we may be able to like put that on the audit plan, even though it wasn't part of the annual risk assessment. But as I go back and reevaluate it throughout the year, sometimes I have to make decisions. And I share that with the audit review committee as well when that occurs.
Councilmember Harley.
Yes, thank you. Auditor Williams, I like the fact that you have mentioned about the outside audit CPA.
Yes.
Okay, so we have an outside auditor that works with you.
They actually work on my behalf.
Okay.
So they're pretty much, you might as well say, like consultants for me.
Mm-hmm.
So we hire them, they do the work, and we make sure that they get the things that they need. And if there are any problems along the way, then we will interject and do whatever we need to do to make sure that they get the things they need to be able to execute the audit as planned.
Follow up. So we have more than just your set of eyes that are looking at some of our higher risk areas.
Correct. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because there's another thing that I had implemented since I've been the city auditor. It was getting Third Line, which is our department's data analytics tool. It's something where it can help us identify all the we have more visibility to all the transactions that are being processed through the city's enterprise risk planning system, or ERP system. I was able to like give other departments access to the tool to help them manage their functional areas better. And being as though the other departments are bigger, they're able to have continuous monitoring of their own processes. And that's a huge benefit for the city, for our team. And if they don't utilize the tool after getting trained on it, at least they understand some of the things that we're looking for. And we're speaking the same language, so when the audits do come around, if they don't address the things that we see, we will bring it to their attention during the audits. And I think it just helps things go a lot smoother.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next question. Do you have any past or present professional relationships or relatives with any city officials? For example, mayor, council members, chief of staff, department heads, etc.
Council President, I do not.
Thank you. Justify to this 109th session of Wilmington City Council why we should confirm the appointment of yourself as our city auditor.
Council President, I think I should be reconfirmed, because I think my team, we do a really good job for the city. I think we're very transparent and fair with the audits that we conduct. I think that we're adding value for the city, and we're doing things that are slightly different than the way other people may do them. But I think because of that, it's been recognized by other people. Like recently I did a webinar with Crow and the Institute of Internal Auditors, where they wanted me to talk about how we collaborate with management at the city to help improve the way that we do business. As I mentioned with Third Line, that's one of the tools that we utilize, and we share with other functional areas to help them improve the way that they manage their business. So I thought that was a very good webinar to participate in, and it shows that the things that we're doing, other people are interested in, because we got a lot of really positive feedback from the webinar, and other people reaching out to us to find out how can they do what we're doing.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Willauer.
Just had one more question, which
Sure.
was, I believe this was, you're still in a role, and the Wilmington Housing Partnership had a $3.4 million loan to the city. And I believe that loan is still outstanding. And it was, there was a lot in the news about that, about the organization, which I believe is a subsidiary of the city of Wilmington. And, it just seems like a lot of money. And I know part of the role is to address fraud and waste and abuse. And I just wonder, based on your experience with that, what kind of controls were put in place as a result of that situation, and what kind of steps you would take going into the future, just to protect the taxpayer dollars from that kind of loss.
Well, I think making sure that the financial audits are being conducted in a timely manner, making sure that the financial audits have a component of forensic auditing embedded in the audit. I think those things are able to help the city moving forward. It's unfortunate what happened with the Wilmington Housing Partnership. I think it was a perfect storm where they were taking on a lot more properties than they probably should have been. And when funding wasn't available, I think a lot of things came to light. And just like this week, where you had the federal government say that they were going to put a hold on federal funding, well, that could happen to any agency. If you don't get the funding that you budgeted for, you will be susceptible to something like this happening.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Councilwoman Oliver.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a statement. I know Councilman Morehouse new, but just for the record, for that Wilmington Partners, it was several people involved, but only one person was penalized who was black, and the other two are still working for the city of Wilmington. Just on the record so you know what happened, a little bit of it, okay?
I don't think that's, Councilman, I don't think that's accurate. I think the financial person who was also there is no longer with the city and has moved on to other agencies. But, we've noticed the track record with that particular individual, and we have our eyes on agencies that they're working at, and we do request audits of those agencies. And, it's unfortunate that the person you're talking about was let go, but that was really not anything under my control. All we do is try to stick to the facts. We were asked to take a look at the agency, which we did, and we performed the audit. We reviewed the external audits that were conducted as well, got a comfort level with the external audits that were done, feel as though the observations they made could be relied on, knowing that they also have forensic auditing embedded in their audit. And so I feel confident about
No, as a follow-up, it
Councilwoman
wasn't.
Oliver.
I'm sorry, thank you. As a follow-up, it wasn't about your department. It was over your head. I was just making a statement, so it wasn't for a rebuttal, but I just wanted to clear the record. I just had lunch with them today, and they're not working, and the person I just saw today is still working. So, but that's not for a rebuttal. I just wanted to make a statement.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do any other council members have any questions or comments? Councilmember Harley.
Yes, so my last question would be, as it relates to the city's last audit, what are we in very good standings? And do we have any outstanding nonconformances that have not been addressed, to your knowledge, that would put us at risk?
I think the city is in a good position right now. I think we're ahead of schedule as far as where we were a year ago, so that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. I think the finance department and the external auditors did a good job as far as wrapping up the audit, and I know next week I think they will be presenting the audit results, and we'll find out more about how the city is doing then.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman McCoy.
Thank you. I do apologize for getting here late, so I may have to go back and look at the beginning. I don't know whether or not you got a chance to answer a question similar to this. So I just wanted to know whether or not, are there perhaps any loopholes, any type of weak internal controls or something that you feel like we may need to tighten up that has never been addressed in order for us to not have any type of fraudulent activity or waste?
Councilwoman McCoy, that's a loaded one. There's always room for improvement. I think we have some things in place that can help mitigate some of those concerns. I think by me giving access to various functional areas, that's going to also help improve the way we address some of the issues that potentially could come down the line. By utilizing Third Line, which is our data analytics tool. And I know other departments are utilizing other things as well, like Power BI to help as well. So we're doing a number of things to try to mitigate issues that potentially could be harmful to the city.
Okay. Matt, I just want to state that we actually are here. As well as you are here for us, we are here for you. If there's something that we need to address, please make certain that we are aware of it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Is there a line that the public can call your office directly, or anyone or any city employee?
On our website, the numbers are out there.
Okay. All right.
And also the fraud hotline, if they're aware of anything that's going on that they feel as it needs to be brought to our attention. If they don't want to associate their name to it, they can respond anonymously, and we definitely will make sure that we take a look at it. And if we are not able to address it, we will forward it to the appropriate agency that can.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Oliver.
Yes, Mr. President, I would like to thank Terence Williams for the outstanding job, not outstanding, but the good job that he's done as a city auditor. I've had some issues in the past, and I've been able to knock on his door, ring his bell. He's been there, had several conversations with me, and been very blunt and honest about everything. So, thank you, Terrence, for just listening. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Harley.
Yes, and I wanted to commend you for. Sorry about that. I wanted to commend you for making the report, publishing it where the public can have access to it. I think that was the first question in terms of like what have you done differently. And I think that's major because, of course, our constituency, they're always, talking about, transparency. So I definitely like that. And I believe I read it once. And until you mentioned it tonight, I completely forgot about it. So I'm glad that came up so we can share that information with our constituency. And so typically, when is that report published?
Once it's approved by the Audit Review Committee, we publish the reports.
And that's,
As long as it's not disclosing anything that can be detrimental to the city, we're able to disclose it and be transparent about it.
is that typically a certain month? Like,
We try to have the Audit Review Committees on a quarterly basis. Unless we don't have a quorum, then we have to wait until we have a quorum to have another meeting.
thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Owens.
Yes, thank you for that. Just because it was brought up about the fraud hotline number, for anyone who's watching, I did want to give that number, and correct me if I'm wrong. It's 877-217-4670. Again, it's 877-217-4677. That's the hotline number on your website to report any fraud. And my next question, only because it had been mentioned a few times, and you just mentioned it again, when is the next Audit Review Committee?
We actually have to wait until we have a number of new members on board. Once the Chief of Staff is on board, the mayor will select someone from the public. Council President has 2 members of the public he can appoint to be on the committee as well. And once we have those individuals, then we can try to get something scheduled.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Do any other council members have any questions or comments? Does anyone from the public have any questions or comments? WITN, is anyone with us virtually? Okay, thank you. So as you may know, this is a resolution, does not require a vote out of committee. This is scheduled for our February 6th council meeting. It's on that agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
City Auditor, thank you so much for your time, my good brother. Appreciate you. I don't gotta say that on live air, nothing like that, but thank you.